Welcome to Mordor, land of brushes and paint. Yes.
Welcome Reaper miniature fans! Today we have another huge beast of a miniature. This is Dagon, the water beast. This is going to be a fantastic paint today. What I'm going to be doing today is I will be base coating the whole miniature, and we'll be trying to give some nice bright effects to all the fins of this miniature. I'm going to be painting it in two parts. So I'm going to be taking the miniature away from the base and we're going to paint them separately. I'm not sure whether to add this to a base. I think I'm actually going to leave this as it is because I don't really have anything that this will fit on at the moment. It won't even fit on a 160mm base. It is too wide to fit on there. So it's going to have to stay as it is for now. So we'll see what happens in the future, but I think it's going to have to just stay as it is. But there we are. What I'll do is I'll get this all primed up and I'll come back and we can make a start. Okay, so my primer coat has been added. What I've gone for is green. I've gone darker green onto the back of the miniature and kept it light underneath and onto the fins. And the same with the base. I've given that a primer coat of yellow. I'll be adding sand from the beach to this because it'll work really well as it's the bottom of the ocean, and using real sand from the beach kind of makes sense. So we'll come back to that one later, but what I want to do now is concentrate on this Dagon. Now what I'm going to be using for today's paints is we've got Cat's Eye Green by MSP. And I'm going to be using these two colours because they're the brightest I've got in my collection at the moment, and that's Alien Goo and Spectral Glow by MSP as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and get all these fins all glowing, so we'll have all the greens going along the fins and the spines and all the bits that are sticking out more, and we'll go over that with the Alien Goo and the Spectral Glow to try and give them that underwater effect. So what I'll do is I'll get all set up and we'll come back and I'll go through the dry brushing stage together with you. Okay, so I got my massive dry brushing brush from Army Paint, and we're going straight into that Cat's Eye Green. Taking it off on my tissue there, and we're just gonna see how this works on the miniature first. That's fine. So we're just going over these green areas. And we're just going to add a little bit of this Alien Goo to my tissue. We're just making that green a little lighter, and we can work the edges of these fins. And we're going on these ones. Along the back and all the highest areas of the miniature. Just brings out all the scales of what we're doing with this miniature. There we go. Oops, hands in the way, sorry. So as you can see, my colours are just to bring out the highlights around the miniature. Again, we're going more into the Alien Goo, so each time I pass over I'm getting that lighter effect on each part of the miniature. So it means it's starting off dark and getting lighter and lighter and lighter slowly along the mini. So we always start with the darkest areas and then work our way to the lightest, like so. There we are. Going along all the fins, and now we're going directly into that alien goo, and we're not mixing that at all. It's just pure alien goo on my brush now. I'm just going on to another finer coating over certain areas of the miniature. There we are, lovely. Okay, now I'm going to add that spectral glow. And the spectral glow, I'm using the same brush, I'm just going to go over all that area. I'm mixing a tiny bit of green in with it first, and now is again another just tips of the miniature, just on certain areas, just to give a little effect here and there. Sides of the gills, that type of area. It's only a tiny little bit, because what we're going to be doing now is, once this is all dry, it's going to get a complete wash of light ink wash, light brown ink wash. In fact, I'll probably be adding a couple of drops of water into my ink wash to actually thin it out even more, and I'll cover the whole miniature with a very light brown ink wash. This will bring out the tiny details around the whole miniature, and then again I will go across the tops and the areas with these strong bright colours, and I'll just make it stand out even more. So there we are, that's all we need to do for now. We're just highlighting certain areas of the miniature with the different colours, just to give some variation and some glowing effects the miniature. So what I'll do is I'll come back, get that brown ink wash on, and then we'll finish off the skin areas. While the first covering of paint dries on Dagon, I'm going to stick the sand onto the base. Now this is from one of my local beaches. It's a nice little mixture of sand and tiny little broken shells. Now I'm going to get that glued on with PVA glue onto all the areas on the base that is just sand, and I will decide whether or not to paint it or not, because it might actually look good enough to stay as it is. I'll probably just give it a light ink wash and then a dry brush, and that'll work perfect as the bottom of the ocean. So what I'll do is I'll get this sand all glued on to the base. But there we are, this is what I use for my sandy bases. Sand from the beach, what more do you want? Okay, everything is coming along fantastically well. What we've got is, I've almost finished the Dagon miniature. What I did, I've added some dragon white to the eyes, and then some dragon black, and then I've just put a little white pupil into the eye, and I've given that a gloss varnish. Now with the base, as you can see, I've added some sand over the whole base, and I've gone over the sand with buckskin pale, this one here. And what I'll do, that will have a light ink wash, and then I will dry brush over that, and that will give out a lovely effect over this base. Now for the pillars here, they're going to be dry brushed in greens and maybe a tiny bit of brown, and I'll dry brush all these and add some of that green on top of the sand as well as, and that will look fantastic. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to complete the miniature, and I'm going to come back and show you the finished mini. So here is the finished Father Dagon. Absolutely beautiful miniature. As you can see, I added that green to the base and to the pillar. I've done the underside of the miniature and all the eyes, and also the eye coming away from the top of the head, and I've given that a white coating and blended that in with green, and that gives a lovely bright colour to attract the other fishes. I've also added all the green to the bottoms of the base. I ended up giving the miniature a matte varnish and just left the eyes gloss because I thought that would work better. I was talking to my patrons and some were saying about gloss works well underwater, and other patrons are saying matte is better underwater because if a fish is underwater it doesn't have a gloss effect, and yet some of my patrons were saying that they add gloss to their miniatures because it makes it look wet. So either way it works, but for this miniature I've kept it so it's just the eyes gloss and the rest I've gone with a matte varnish. So there we are, this is this week's mini. Absolutely beautiful. If you enjoy what I do, then hit that sub button. If you want to support the channel, then please become my patron. All patrons are added to the end credits of all my videos. So until next week.
Goodbye, my fellow ones. Sleep well. Dream of evil paintbrushes.